Hey gang, we've got another how-to video for you, and the video is going to be on the Kivi Person Lifter, which is the 120 kg variant. It's new and improved, machined aluminium. It's much more compact and lighter, which is what we're going to show you. So the new Person Lifter comes with a new bag, which is nice and compact. Every component in there weighs up to about 12 kilos in total. The heaviest piece is about just over 7 kilos. And then we have an additional bag here for the sling. It's a one-size-fits-all sling that is suitably padded to give you that support you need. When it comes to securing the Person Lifter to the vehicle, there is 3 ways, right? And the reason there's 3 is because there's one position that has 2 ways to secure it, and then another position that has 1 way. And what I mean by that is, if the vehicle has a sliding door, there is a mount that goes here at the front of the door opening that the Person Lifter secures to. Or if we have it in the typical position, which is the front passenger door, we either have a door hinge bracket that looks like this, that then secures onto the hinge of the door, or a fixed mount in the footwell. Today I'm going to show you how the door hinge bracket works. Let's check that out. The door hinge bracket is specifically made to seat each door, so you may not be able to share the hinge for multiple vehicles. It will be one hinge door bracket per vehicle. Simply secure on, open up the rubber bump stops. So this is to prevent the passenger door from closing. Nice and secure. Once we've got the door hinge bracket, we then assemble the hoist. We have the main lift arm. This is made out of machined aluminium, and it's quite compact and lightweight, so it's just over 7 kilos. We simply secure onto the 2 locator pins like that. We then have the extension arm and the sling attachment. When it comes to power, there's 2 ways. You either have a fixed port that the power cable connects into, or we have a 12-volt socket port, which we're going to use in this one. So it's completely removable, no modifications to the car when you have the 12-volt socket and the door hinge bracket. When it comes to operating the unit, you have a wireless remote here where you press the A button, it raises, press the B button, it lowers. However, if you run out of battery, there's a backup where there's a 2-button system at the base here that will raise up and down. Right? And also when connected to power, there's a activated light. So when you're operating this in the evening where it's a bit dusk, you still got a light to see what you're doing. This is the one-size-fits-all sling. So there are 6 points of attachment, and as a minimum you need 4. The additional 2 is depending on the person's postural capacity, right? If they don't have the upper torso capacity to keep themselves upright, well then you do all 6, right? So we have these 2 that go through the center. And then these 2 that go on the sides. And the 1 leg either or. But now what we're going to do is we're going to show you how this works with an actual person. Now typically you're going to be using this for a person that is usually hoist transferred. They don't have the capacity to slide or independently transfer on their own, and they require the use of a person lift to raise them up. All right? So 2 ways to have this fitted to the person. You either have this on the wheelchair already, and then the person hoists it onto the chair, or if they're already in their wheelchair, you would then just slide this along. In this instance, you will see that the sling is already fitted on the chair. And when I snap my fingers, so there's someone going to be sitting in this chair. Wow, that's amazing. Now, what we see here is we have the 2 center connectors come through the legs, right? So that's going to help lift up the legs up. And then we have the side attachment points that come around here. When we're having this adjusted, ideally you want the person's chest to be in line with this, because that then gives them the most amount of space when trying to get in and out of the car. My demonstrator friend here is approximately 85 kilos and 6'1", right? So decent sized bloke. So we're going to show you how a person of this size is going to get into a door opening of this size. And this vehicle is a current model VW Caddy. So what you do is Either they are able to, or you yourself operate the chair. We attach the center connectors, right? You may then need to drive the person. They don't have to be in a power chair, they can be in a manual chair. And then we get these other slings. As I said, you don't have to have all four if the person has the upper body. However, in this instance, we'll just connect it anyway. So once we have the person connected, we make sure the wheelchair is off when it's a power chair, and then we simply raise. Now at the back here, there's a little handle that you can hold on to as you're lifting the person. Now, if my demonstrator friend is fully suspended, is that the case?
Yeah.
Then what we do is we then move the wheelchair out of the way. Now, if there's two people helping, one person can be assisting the occupant and the other person moving the wheelchair out of the way. Once the chair is safely out of the way, we continue to raise. So with the person lifter, there's 1, 2, 3 points of articulation, all right? You want the main lift arm to be parallel with the door, and then the occupant to be on the right-hand side. Because if they're on the left-hand side of that main lift arm, then you're gonna block the access. And with this attachment point arm, we kind of consider it like an arrow. So it points in the direction we want to go in. And what we want to try and get into first is the legs first, and then the head follows. So what we want is to raise as high as we can, because that's going to give us the most amount of clearance space for the legs. And as we're lifting, we can push towards the door opening. Now, ideally flat level surface. If you're on a bit of an incline, depending on the inclination, the weight of the person may be swinging towards you or swinging towards the vehicle. So that's an additional thing that you need to consider. Now, if you're paying attention, there's two things that we need to get into this vehicle. Legs first, then the head. So depending on the capacity of my person here, if they're able to position their legs in either with a little bit of movement they have in the legs or with their arms, that's going to be super helpful for you as a support person. If not, then you will have to get down, make sure you get the legs in, and then as the legs are in, you then swing them towards. And as they're inside, this is when then you start to lower down. And as you're lowering down, you want to then get the shoulder in, and at the same time you're having to push the person, right? Making sure that the legs don't fall out, right? And as we're pushing the person in, we're managing the head, all right? So you need to have a decent amount of flexibility in the head. If you've got a really stiff head, he's not going to be able, especially a tall person like this, it's going to be difficult to get in. So if you do have a stiff head and you're a shorter person, then you may have a better chance of getting in. But lucky for us, this gentleman has a good amount of movement with the head. And once the head's in, you'll see that he's still floating. So here, I mean, I would typically be standing in this direction. However, for the video purposes, I'll stand here. And what you do is you would then pull back. And as you have pulled back, that brings the rear side of the person into the seat. And then once the tension is released, you disconnect, disassemble each part of the hoist and put it into the bag, and away you go. We're not going to show that part now. We're going to show you how to take the person out. So we've shown you how to get the person into the vehicle, and what I said before was feet first, head last. Now when we're trying to get out of the car, we do it in opposite direction. We do head first, feet last. Now we've got this lovely gentleman all connected up. Now what we want to do is we want to get our hands to the person's back if we can, and grab this lift point here. Cameraman, if you can see that. And if the person is able to, they actually can lean their head towards the outside where this big opening is, and that's going to help. So as we're leaning out, we're also raising up, and as we're raising up, we're pulling, right? As we're pulling, we're raising up, and then person just pops right out. Now, if this person was a little bit shorter, that would have happened a lot sooner, right? So we're waiting for the system to raise that bottom off the seat to then give us that leverage we need to then pull out. So you saw how quite straightforward and simple it was. And as we have our person here suspended, again, if we're on our own, make sure they're able to support themselves. We bring the wheelchair. However, if we're with another support person, the support person will bring the wheelchair in position. And that's a new and improved Kivi Person Lifter, 120 kg capacity. A really great option for trying to get people access into the front passenger seating position or the second row sliding door, right? Catch you on the next one.